Once again in 2023 and 2024, the West Bloomfield Lakers girls varsity basketball team is among the top in the state and those ranked amongst girls basketball teams across the nation at the high school level. Over the last 3 games, these Laker girls have scored 65 points on average, and their opponents just 18 points on average per game. And that's just a little bit of what they're doing have done so far on their way to a 12-0 start to this season. Joining us on the program now is their head coach, Darrin McAllister. Once again, Darrin, thank you for being with us on the Splash Live.
Good morning, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing great. And how are you coming off of a win last night on the road at Stony Creek?
Feels pretty good. We're ready to get back in the gym and get some work.
Yeah, it's a tough season for the Lakers. It's a tough season for everyone. It's a long season that begins in mid-December, runs all the way through the end of February, and that's before you even get into playoff time. But once again, your team is off to a strong start. 12 consecutive wins to start the season. They're scoring a ton of points, but they're also really limiting the scoring from the other teams. But there's always a different identity one season to the next. What so far have you noticed is this current team's identity?
Well, each year we come up with a mantra and then we identify who we are as a team. Our first year there, we had the identity of I believe. And the second year, we had the identity of together. And this year, we have the identity of we will. And that all starts with a mindset, believing that we can accomplish or overcome anything that comes in front of us. We've been successful so far, being undefeated. But at the end of the day, wins and losses in the month of December, January, and February means nothing. You're playing for the month of March.
And so that comes back to the focal points of this team. You've built this team quite strategically over the years to fit the vision you've had for what a great girls basketball program can be at the high school level, and really what a great basketball program is: girls, boys, men's, women's, at any level, professional, high school, college, and so on. What are your focal points, particularly in this season, that this team's really so far bought into?
Just one word: defense. Defense, that's solely what it is. A lot of people focus on the amount of points that we score a game, and we don't focus on that. That's not important to us. Our goal is to go out there and to stop people or slow them down, and everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, anytime you're limiting a team to right around 20 points to less than 30 points at any level, whether it's throughout the entirety of a game or even on the professional side throughout a quarter, you're doing something right. And over these last 5 games, looking at these final scores, last night at Stony Creek, 60-19, 71-20, 66-15, 62-20, 74-27, going back to January 16th against Lake Orion, a team you're going to see again very soon. That's pretty daunting. You see those big scoring totals, but you also see the really small scoring totals for your opponents. Now, what is the key to adopting that defensive first mindset for your team?
It all starts with just being unselfish and believing in each other and loving each other on and off the court. Our players, this is a great group of players. I'm really excited about this team this year. I've been excited about the teams before, but this team is special because I've had these group of girls for 3 seasons, and then they bought into the mindset of defense. They bought into the mindset of believing and trusting the coaching staff, and we trust and believe in them. And so far, it's been working.
You've had a lot of really talented players on this team over your 3 years, a lot that have exited over the past 2 years. But as you said, the added benefit of that is you have that longevity of players that have been in this program throughout your tenure. They understand what you are trying to accomplish and what it takes to get to that championship level and even win a state championship. But what about these younger players that are coming up? How have they been acclimating, and how have they been, even beyond that, taking the leadership from the older players, the elder players on this team that are in their junior and senior years?
It's been phenomenal this year. It all starts with the leaders and the older players, not only telling the players what to do, but actually showing them what to do and leading by example. The younger players came in, and of course they're starry-eyed and they're looking at the older players and trying to find their way. But the great thing about it is most of the young players come in and they have a sponge mentality and they're absorbing all the information that they can. Even some of the transfers that came in, such as the Gamble Jones twins, they came in understanding, hey, we got to find our way on this team and identify our roles. So it's been working so far. But the great part about it is this team is hungry and they're continuing to work hard.
Yeah, and you mentioned the hunger of this team. Coach McAllister, Darrin McAllister with us, head coach of the West Bloomfield girls varsity basketball team. They are 12-0. They continue their campaign as they begin a 4-game home streak on Friday at 7 o'clock at West Bloomfield High School against Rochester High School. You mentioned that hunger, and a lot of that, I would imagine, comes from the heartbreak at the end of last season, making it back to the state championship game, a chance to commit a rare feat in MHSAA basketball across all levels and going back to back, and came up just short against Rockford. How is that a tone setter, especially for upperclassmen coming into the season, and what has that brought to your team and its approach in this current season?
Well, losing that game definitely was a heartbreaker. It was a learning experience, and realizing that, it's certain areas that we could have worked better and executed better. But again, we had a young team last year. We only had two seniors, and one of them got the bulk of the playing time. So we were a young team. And as talented as we were, and as much as success as we had last year, we still had room for improvement and room to learn, and we did. And so with that loss, it actually put a chip on our shoulders, and the players have really worked hard during the offseason, and they carried over into the season. And I'm definitely seeing the fruits of their labor.
When you have a consistently good team and have built a consistently good program year in and year out, as you have in your 3 years with West Bloomfield, the talent's going to be there. You can kind of see how the execution of the game plan and what the coaching staff is preaching to these players is going to be there. But given that your team does have a bit of a youth movement to some extent this season, has there been any surprises for you, for your coaching staff, those that have players or different elements of your team that have stood out so far in 23 and 24?
Well, I think our coaching staff, Jimmy Glenn's and Talisha Washington, has done a great job in developing our younger players. We have a couple younger players that stand out, such as Jordan Ratliff, who's contributing a lot on the varsity team. And then we have another sophomore, London Hall, who's doing double duty as far as playing JV and varsity, who has a bright future with us. So that youth movement is awesome. It's fun to see. And I'm excited, obviously, about now, but I'm also excited about the future. But I will say this, Tyler, it all starts with our athletic director, Eric Pierce, giving us the resources that we need and all the tools that we need to be successful. So I definitely want to give a shout out to him and our coaching staff.
Yeah, the high school to school district, very supportive of its athletic teams across the board, and have definitely put an investment into basketball, especially in recent years during the winter season. It shows on the court for the girls' teams, for the boys' teams, varsity, JV, freshmen, and all across the board. Joining us on the show today is the head coach of the West Bloomfield girls varsity basketball team, Darrin McAllister. His Lakers are 12-0 heading into their next game coming up Friday night. A homestand begins at West Bloomfield High School against Rochester. Then there's 4 more games between then and February 13th when they take on Oxford for their final game of this 4-game homestand. Coach, you're 12-0. You're coming off of previous 2 years, 2 straight appearances in the state championship game, 1 state championship, 1 runner-up appearance. There's always room for improvement, and knowing your coaching staff, knowing your team's approach, you're always looking to take that next step. At this point in the season, 12 games in, 12 wins in, playing excellent ball across the board, what are you looking for as that next step for your team to go from being a good team now to a great team, like you said, in March, where you really need to be playing your best basketball?
Well, at the end of the day, we just have to continue to do what we do. I often tell the players, if you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be who you're supposed to be. So if we continue to work hard and understand that every game we want to get better and realize that we're playing for March, we're putting money in the bank for March, because at the end of the day, what you do in December, January, and February means nothing. We're playing for March. So if we're doing what we're supposed to do in the month of March, I'm a happy coach.
You've developed this program over the past 3 years. You're developing this team over 3 months, getting toward the month of March. Coach, anything else that you'd like us to know or that we should be keeping in mind about this team as they continue through this 2024 campaign?
Oh, I just definitely want to acknowledge some of the accomplishments of our seniors. We have 3 McDonald's All-American nominees with Summer Davis, India Davis, and Kendall Hendricks. They've really worked hard and deserve that. And then we have Dustin Washington, who I feel is a lot of times the underrated player in terms of getting the acknowledgement. She's definitely our floor general. She's our leader, and she's our best defender. And night in and night out, she gives up and sacrifices getting the points by going out there and defending the other team's best player. And then we have a sophomore that just stepped into the lineup and really has contributed, and that's Sheridan Bill. And she's been phenomenal. We butted heads a little bit during the early parts of the season because when you have a talented player, they tend to think, hey, I haven't worked out. But then they have to realize, you know what, I have to realize that, you know, I don't know it all. And she's been phenomenal with that. So I just want to acknowledge this team, and our reserve players are coming in and giving us bonus minutes as well. It's been fun this year. And, you know, we're not done. You know, so I would say, hey, get your popcorn ready.
Yeah, get your popcorn ready and get out to West Bloomfield High School. You're going to have plenty of opportunities in the coming weeks as they have a 4-game homestand between Friday this week, February 2nd, and February 13th. All of those games at 7 o'clock at West Bloomfield High School. You can get more information on this team. Follow them on Twitter at WB State Champs, and you can also find more information on all of West Bloomfield High School athletics at westbloomfieldathletics.com. Coach McAllister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tyler. Go Lakers, and we will.
Go Lakers indeed.